Hey everyone, this is Kev. Welcome to Dark Souls. It's the PC version, so it's Prepare to Die edition. I am really excited for Dark Souls 2, and I've just recently gotten back into Dark Souls. So what I thought I would do is, in remembering, because I started the game from scratch again, and in remembering how intimidating this game can be to new players, especially if they've only ever heard that it's difficult and never really looked at what the game is, I thought I would make a video to show what it is. So I'm going to walk everyone through. This is kind of a tutorial, kind of a... I mean, I'm by no means a good Dark Souls player. I'd say I'm average at best, but this will be kind of a tutorial from the way that I would normally start the game, and hopefully it'll give you guys an idea of what it is. That's my character. I'm going to start from scratch though. So we're going to go for a new game. I'm going to name my character. Call her... dunno. Super Lady. We'll go female. I don't often go female. I'm going to play a Dex class. Specifically, I'm going to play a Thief, because Thieves actually start with the Master Key, which unlocks quite a lot of secret doors throughout most of the game, and is especially useful at the beginning. They also get higher critical hit damage, so if you're playing a Dex build, you're going to be wanting to go for backstabs and parries, which I'll get into later. Oh, excuse me. But, yeah, Thieves are the best way to go with that. So if you like sort of rolling around speedily and dodging rather than blocking, Thieves are the class you probably want to go with. If you want to go magic... the Sorcerer, I've heard, is quite powerful, although they really do go down in no hits whatsoever. So, yeah, it's a bit give and take with that class. The Pyromancer is an excellent starting class. You get fire spells straight off the bat, so that's cool. The Deprived is all of the stats are level, so you can kind of just build that character out however you want, rather than the rest of these characters which come with sort of preset stats, some low, some high. I would say that the easiest class to start with overall is probably the Knight, just because learning how to block is a lot easier than learning how to parry or backstab or dodge. But in saying that, it gets a bit difficult to block some of the harder enemies, because they really do attack your endurance. We'll get onto that again in a moment. But yeah, for the sake of this tutorial / video of me playing the start of the game, I'm going to play the Thief. I'm going to go with a gift. So if you don't play the Thief, you can get the Master Key here if you want. There's also a bunch of other stuff, most of which are one-use items, so that, for example, will fully restore your HP and status. That's like a grenade, the Black Firebomb. Twin Humanities gives you 2 humanity. Again, I'll get onto that in a bit. Binoculars just let you see in the distance, which aren't especially useful for most of the game. A pendant, no one really knows what that is, and it's the same with the old witch ring. I mean, maybe people know what it is. I don't know what it is. Tiny Being's ring, despite what it says there about regenerating health, actually just gives you a little notch of extra health at the start of the game. And that's honestly what I'm going to go with, because with the Thief, getting extra health is quite useful just in case I get hit. So I'm going to take that. Pick your thingany-bob here. I'm just going to go with... I'm being a stealthy thief, so I'll go very slim. Face, god, most of this doesn't really matter that much. Let's have a ponytail, why not? And hey, let's go with red hair, why not? Okay, cool. And that is my character. You can customize the look a bit more if you want, but honestly, there's not a lot of point. So we're going to start the game, and I'm going to let the intro video play.
Then from the dark they came and found the soul's claws within the flame. Later, the first of the day. The wish of Isaac and her daughters of chaos. Gwyn, the lord of sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive enemy, so easily forgotten. Soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Dark Souls. Alright, so that is an intro video. I quite like that intro video, it's pretty cool. Anyway, here we are in the actual game. So,
Yes, indeed. The dark side brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Alright, let's get this ball rolling. So, key, door. Pretty simple. Alright, so we've started off the game. We've got... Alright, first of all, should be noted that when you press the pause button, the menu comes up, but the game is not paused. Make sure you don't use the menu if there are enemies around, because that results in death, as does a lot of things in this game. Here's your inventory, you've got some stuff, none of which needs to be worried about right now. Let's just say the dark sign is what makes you respawn, you'll always have that. Banish Phantom Return Home is for, well, for PvP, not PvP, co-op stuff. Keys. I've currently just got a bit of a sword, which is not great, but we'll get a better thing in a minute. This is all the armor. The inventory system in this game isn't great, but it works well enough. It takes a bit of getting used to. You can equip, like, 2 weapons in here at a time. So what that means is you can switch quickly between them by hitting left or right on the D-pad, depending on which hand you want to change over. This is where you'd obviously put, like, either a second weapon or a shield. Yeah, and then just items will go up there. We'll get around to that lot in a minute. Here's the stats. Before I go any further, it's worth noting that all a level is a single point going up in any of these stats, and the stats you really want to concentrate on. I mean, it depends what build you're playing, obviously, but for my characters, I've always gone, you want to concentrate on vitality, that's health. You want to concentrate on endurance, which is the green bar I'll tell you about in a moment. That has to do with blocking. And strength for damage. But we will get around to that lot in a moment. So yeah, let's carry on. These things on the floor here, these little look like orange molten scratch marks, are actually messages. In the tutorial area, it's messages from the developer. But when you get out of here, as long as you're playing online, you will find messages from other players that have left them there. Locking on to enemies is a useful thing. You do that by clicking in the right stick on the controller. You've got a light attack and a heavy attack. And it's worth, these guys don't fight back, but it's worth killing them just to collect souls. And souls are both your currency and your experience points in the game, which we'll discuss more later on. I'm going to try and... There's a lot to consider when you play this game, so I'm going to try and do each bit as it comes, but, I mean, this tutorial area does a pretty good idea, so here it tells you how to lock onto a target. I'm going to try and be cocky here and... I didn't make it. Yeah, so you can run by holding down the B button. That's also your jump button and your roll button. It takes a bit of practice to distinguish between a lot of them. Bonfires. These are your checkpoints. You make sure a bonfire has been lit, and once it has been lit and you've rested at it, which I'm about to do now. Now if I die, I will respawn at this bonfire. I will lose all my souls, and I will lose all my humanity, but I will at least respawn at the bonfire. It's also used later on for leveling up and some other things that we don't need to worry about just yet. And the only way I can go right now is into here. Now, I know what's coming here, so I'm actually going to be pretty quick about it. But, yeah, there we go. First boss in the game. And he is a big scary monster that I don't have the equipment to deal with yet, so I'm going to run into this little gate. There's another bonfire. And you should never be afraid in Dark Souls of running past an enemy. I mean, obviously you don't want to run past one only to find 3 more and then suddenly you've got a bunch of enemies chasing you that will inevitably catch up to you and kill you. Oh, there's a guy here shooting arrows. Yeah, so you don't want that to happen. So obviously try and take down whoever you can, but it's not always a bad idea to run. I'm now going to go into my left hand and equip my shield, which means I should be able to hold in the button here. And now, as long as I'm facing in the direction of this guy, I can block him. You can control your character while holding your shield up, and you can use the parry button, which I'll go into a bit later. Well, pretty soon, actually. And that's how you parry and riposte. Now, riposte, sorry. Should be able to get my knife here, which is a pretty decent weapon when you're a thief. So I'm going to get rid of this hilt because it's of no use whatsoever. Alright, so tactic number 1 for Dark Souls. This is very important. You probably shouldn't go anywhere unless you're holding your shield up, because you never know what's about to come. See? That arrow came out of nowhere. Now what I'm going to do is run around the back of this guy and attempt to backstab him. Whether that works or not is another question altogether. Oh, I got it. There we go. Backstabs and parries, if you can actually successfully perform a riposte on the parry, do critical damage, which the thief gets extra. Now with these fog walls, that generally means you're about to go into a boss fight. Generally, it's not always the case, but whenever you come across them, be ready for it. So here's a little thing about using the B button, so you can tap it to backstep, or you can press it in a direction to roll. Rolling gets affected by how much weight you're carrying, so right now, and it works in percentages, so right now I am carrying, where are we? Over here. My equip load over on the right hand side there is 12.1 out of 49, so I'm at just under 25%, and in increments of 25% you get slower and slower rolls and movement. So right now I can go like this, but were I to be either completely naked, well, you know, without armor, or if I were to equip heavier stuff, my movement would change accordingly. Now there's an item up here on this staircase that you need to ignore if you go through this yourself, because you come back for that not a lot later in the game, but later enough that, well, we'll get back to it way later in the videos. I say videos because this may end up being more than one video. I'm not sure how quickly I'm going to be able to do this, and I don't want to hold up all your time, so this may end up being like a weekly thing or something. We'll figure that out as it comes. I'm going to come unlock this door. Now that is a lesson that you need to learn about Dark Souls, and it's good that it teaches you in a tutorial if you can be bothered to look for it. This is the bonfire I was at just now. There's the church with the big scary monster in it. A lot of the time in this game you will find shortcuts back to areas you've been to before, so that you can now, rather than going all the way up and around all of that, I can now just run up this staircase. And shortcuts are a very important thing. Here is a trap. Keep that in mind when you play the game. It's nice to know that it's coming. That is a bit of surprise when you don't know it's coming, obviously. And you may die. Here is a dude who is going to give us the... I'm just going to skip through all this. But he is going to give us our healing ability in the form of an Estus flask. Now what these do... And I got a key there as well. Okay, so what these do is when you've lost health, which I've lost a bit there, and for the sake of this video I will use one, you just press the X button, and there. That heals me back up. Now at the moment it heals like 2 of the segments in the health bar. You can increase the effectiveness of the Estus flask throughout the game though. This is another guy here. So what I'm going to try and show you now is how to parry and riposte. So parrying is with the... I'm using a 360 controller, so on the left trigger. I'm going to try and get this guy down here. And you get a very small space of time, like it's measured in like 200 to 220 milliseconds of time. So it requires some very precise timing and a lot of practice. But as he's about to strike me, I'll do... No, it didn't work. Alright, so I'll back off and let him have another go. But as he's about to strike me, I can, like that, and riposte. There we go. You have to be very precise with the timing. And should you get it, you need to hit the light attack button as quickly as possible. But that is an excellent way to do critical damage to enemies. And if you can really start to nail the timing, yeah, incredibly useful. Doesn't work on everyone. But generally, if the creature you're fighting is humanoid, has a weapon, is your size or one size higher, it can probably be parried. The easiest way to find out is to see if you can backstab it. Backstabbing is slightly easier, like you just have to get around to the other side of them. And if they can be backstabbed, they can usually be parried and vice versa. So I might... This is the first part of the game where you kind of get to deal with multiple enemies at the same time. So I'm going to try and be careful here. Notice I'm keeping my shield up virtually all the time while trying to run around and get my backstab on. Backstabbing also requires a certain amount of precision on where you're positioned compared to them. I generally try and... because their body can be slanted depending on their stance. I generally try and just get directly behind their head. That's the thing you want to focus on for that. Once again, shield up, because there's a guy with arrows there. Alright. Cool. And this is the bit that's telling you about critical hits and parries and stuff. This guy in here is quite a monster. He does a lot of damage. I'm going to try and backstab him. He's not having much of it. I'm going to back off quickly and heal. There we go, got him. Now this door over here I can't actually get through yet. That leads us down to the item that I pointed out on the stairs just now, but as I said before, you don't get the key until quite a bit later in the game. So we'll worry about that later. Yeah, so another fog wall. And this time we are going into a boss, so be prepared. And what it would have told you on the floor outside is that you can do this. Just dive off, press the attack button, and you get that awesome kind of critical hit from up high. That works on any enemy in the game. Yeah, so if you've got a height advantage and can drop off of something on top of them and hit the light attack button, then that will always work and is cool. This guy obviously cannot be parried. Oh, and he's just smacked me right in the face there. I need to heal quickly. Right. Let's concentrate for a bit, because it has been a while since I fought this guy. Usually he's not that much of a problem. Just gotta make sure you keep your block up, obviously. Staying behind him and at his feet is quite a useful thing to do. As you can see, most of his attacks are forward based, and that goes for quite a lot of the bosses in the game actually. And we kill him and get a key, and a few souls and a humanity point. Humanity will heal you entirely, more so than your Estus Flask will do. And will also give you a humanity point in the top left of the UI there, or where the 00 is. Humanity is used to revert you to human, which basically makes you eligible for PvP and co-op. And also allows you to kindle bonfires, which means you can get twice the amount of Estus out of them, but up to a limit of 10 until way later in the game. For the most part, I don't use humanity, I just kind of stock it for when I need to kindle a bonfire. And yeah, it's kind of... I don't really do a lot of the co-op PvP stuff, so I don't use it for that for the most part. I tend to stay hollow, which is what we're considered now. And you will always lose your humanity and revert to hollow when you die. Oh, quick thing. When you die, you leave behind what's called a bloodstain. And it's for you, it's a glowy little green thing. Bluey green thing, turquoise thing if you like, and that contains your souls and humanity. So if you die and know where you were and can get back to where you were, then you can pick up all of your souls and humanity as if you hadn't lost them in the first place. But the problem is when you die, it tends to be for a very good reason, like there's something very scary around there. So yeah, risk reward again. So now we are off with my friend the Crow. To the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Lordran.
So what we'll be doing now is flying out. Now, virtually everything you see here is a place you will be going to in a moment. The whole of Lordran is seamlessly integrated together. There's no loading screens or anything. The game loads as you progress through, and it is every part of this entire world is intertwined. So, like, there are several different routes depending on what difficulty areas you want to go through to get between different areas. But the Firelink Shrine is kind of the central hub of the whole thing. It's the area you will always come back to. So I'm going to rest here. See, I can now level up, kindle the shrine, but this shrine is actually the only shrine that's automatically kindled. So as you can see, I've already got 10 Estus at the bottom there. Reverse hollowing makes you human, which, as I said before, makes you eligible for PvP and co-op. Leveling up is something you kind of want to hold off for the most part. When you level up, you get less souls from certain enemies, and it's not a great deal, but that curve eventually catches up with you. The more time you hold off of leveling up, the more souls you'll get from standard enemies, and then when you do get around to leveling up, you'll be able to go up greater levels because you will have got more souls for your work. That was a dude fading in and out there. That will often happen. That's just other players that are in the same area in their worlds. They're not actually coming into yours, they're just appearing. But yeah, for now I won't bother leveling up. So what I mean by this area is completely open world is you can go down here, and this is like where one of the more scary... There's a message. Kicking? Don't know what that means. Over here there's a lady locked up in a cage. She doesn't have a lot to say. You can reinforce Estus Flask. Unfortunately, I don't have any Firekeeper souls at the moment, so that's how you improve your Estus Flasks. Going down there would be a big mistake right now. That is an area of the game you don't want to go to. So I'm going to tell you what the critical path is for the first part of the game. And not anything else, because that's as much video as I'll be doing, most likely. Always look around for items like that. Obviously, they're pretty, as you can see, obvious. Where do I want to go? There's another item over here. If you head over to these stairs, up to the right, should be a little corridor over here. Yep. And then another item here, which is a grenade. Always useful. Grenades are quite useful at the start of the game, not so much later on, but when you're just getting used to the combat, it's nice to have that extra bit of range. If you're not already packing a bow or magic, obviously. This guy is a member of a covenant, which... they're like the people who will sign you up to their religion to grant you magic, but he won't actually have anything to say to me right now because I'm hollow and he only likes human people. What I am going to do is show you a little sneaky trick and go and get some items that are quite useful. So we're going to fall down this elevator here. And, oh yeah, this is an elevator. We'll find out way later on, but this is a massive elevator. It turns into one of those shortcuts I was talking about later in the game. But down here, there's some treasure chests with some reasonably useful items. So a homeward bone, I've just got 6 of them there. They, when you use them, will transport you back to the last bonfire that you rested at. So that's cool. And very useful. This is a Morning Star and a Talisman. Both pretty cool. Talisman is for magic. Morning Star is obviously for bashing the crap out of people. I won't be using it because I'm going with the Thief critical hits. Cracked red eye orbs are for invading other players' games, which obviously at this level I wouldn't like to be doing. Where's my way out here? There we go. And Lloyd's Talisman. I can't remember what that does. That's annoying. When you use a Lloyd's Talisman, it stops your enemies from using Estus Flasks for a certain amount of time. As long as you're near them. Because they can use Estus Flasks as well. One of the things I love about this game is your enemies pretty much have all of the same abilities that you do. And that makes it fair and really bloody hard. Now, this area here is called the Graveyard. It is not the place you want to go at the start of the game. By coming here now, I would ordinarily get whooped. Because there's about to be some skeletons that will spawn. You can see down there, there's like a shield and some swords. They're about to form into skeletons when I come into range of them. I like to come here and get these items early. So what I'm going to do is come down here and run away from these guys, because I might be able to take them on. I might even be able to kill them. But it's a big risk. So instead, what I'm going to do is try and get away from them. Although they're pretty insistent on following me at the moment. Now, one of the useful things that you can use in this game as a tactic is to run back to Firelink Shrine, or any of the bonfires, and if we get the skeletons to follow us down, I'll show you what happens. I don't think they're following me. I think they got bored. Anyway, what would happen when you use a bonfire is all of the enemies in the game reset. That also means they respawn, so anyone you've killed, while ordinarily would stay dead, once you use a bonfire, they get resurrected and placed back in their original positions. But the key part of that is they get placed back in their original positions. So if you want to get into a massive fight, run away and escape, just get to your nearest bonfire, hit it, and then they will all get reset back to their original positions without aggro. I'm really tempted to go and see if I can take these guys on, but nah, they're pretty powerful. So what we'll do instead is I'll run back to the shrine here so we have a decent starting point for where I'm taking you. Alright, so Firelink Shrine. This guy over here doesn't have a lot to say, as I recall.
Let me guess. Fate of the...
Um...
Well, there are.
He tells you about the Bells of Awakening.
One's up above in the Undead church. The other is far.
Yeah, so he tells you got to go up to the church and down into Blighttown, and you got to ring bells on either side. That is not the whole game, but it is the first sort of third of it. And with these videos, I will lead up to the top bell. I won't go down into Blighttown or anywhere down that way, but I will get us up to the top bell. So, go right out of the Firelink Shrine and over to here, where we will go up this staircase. Try and lure this guy over. If you're familiar with drawing enemies like in MMOs, where you would try and aggro one enemy at a time, that's what you want to do ideally in this as well. I'm trying to get this guy with a backstab, but he's been pretty insistent that I'm not allowed to. There we go. It's sometimes difficult to line those up. Alright, so there's a guy up there who likes to throw grenades. I'm going to try and get this guy to come over before I get grenaded. Okay, and he's one of these scary sword and shield people. I tried to parry him, but there we go. Worked out in the end. So there's an item there and an item over there. You can tell from the glowiness. I will go and get those in a moment. I'm going to quickly Estus up to get my health back. I'm going to go and deal with this guy throwing grenades at me first. There's two of them. Forgot about the other guy. Okay, let's come around here and try and deal with this guy first. Okay, backstab. And then I'll kick that guy off. So a useful technique... Ow, that hurt. A useful technique is the kick. And it goes a little something like... I'll let him finish up his attack. Like this. And you do that by hitting up on the analog stick and the light attack. was hoping he had died, but I guess he just fell down. And while he's gone, I will completely heal myself. Well, not completely heal myself, but heal myself to an extent. Here he comes. My old mate. I'll try and parry him. Oh, no, he's doing his big... There we go. As I said before, parrying requires some pretty precise timing. Anyway, now that all those guys are dealt with, and there's another item up there, we'll go and get those items from down here. And you might have seen down here there was a kind of apparition running around. That's, again, another player just doing their thing in their own world. Now, jumping requires running and then quickly releasing and tapping the B button, and it's a bit tricky, especially when it's required, but there we go, managed to get that. I'm going to go really slowly around this bridge, because you do not want to fall off there. That's a bit of a height. Okay. And a ring of sacrifice is not especially useful at this point in the game, but might be useful later on. What it does, I'll just find it in here. The ring of sacrifice allows you to get killed, and rather than lose all of your stuff, instead it breaks. Should be over here somewhere. There it is. Lose nothing upon death, but ring breaks. So that's cool if you know you're going into a fight that you have a very low chance of, and you don't want to risk losing all of your souls and whatnot. Let's go and get these other items, or other item. I happen to know for a fact that there's a rat down there, and he doesn't very much like me. What I'm going to do now is what's called the... I actually don't know what they refer to it. I like to call it the dive. And it involves... It's like the kick, but you use heavy attack instead of light attack. And the result is a kind of ranged power drive, which is like this. And that does a bit more damage than you would normally do. Not enough to kill the rat in that instance, but still, that's quite useful for closing a small gap if you haven't got enough. If you're not close enough to swing your sword and hit something, then maybe that would. Although it does take a bit of time to charge up. So we're now going to go up here, up to the stairs. And now we're in Undead Burg. This is like... This is the part of the game where you will likely want to go around grinding if you're the kind of person who likes to grind out at the start. Because there's a bonfire just up there, and lots of enemies that are reasonably, like, they're the simplest enemies in the game, bottom line. Now you'll notice I'll run around here parrying quite a lot and backstabbing. Again, that's the kind of stuff that does take a while to get used to. Like, you may not be able to do it yourselves if you're getting started out. Or at least not straight off the bat. If you can, then that's great. Oh, he's going for his heavy attacks. There we go. That's the other thing about learning to parry, is you kind of have to know what kind of attacks your enemies are going to be using against you. Now, I could go through that fog wall, but instead, I'll let you on a little secret. It says someone's left a message there saying there's treasure ahead. So I'm going to hit these barrels, and you can see just down there, there's some treasure. So I'm going to roll off here, grab that, large soul of the undead. They transfer into souls, so you can actually get more souls from consuming them. Running around here, if I'd gotten there in time, I could have totally knocked that guy off before he got to the top of the wall. I may be about to die. I'm going to run back up here and heal a bit. I definitely got lucky there. They both went into their frenzy attacks at the same time, and I was a bit caught off guard. Again, always keep your shield up. That's the thing I wasn't doing there. This game, like virtually no other game out there, requires you to just be careful as often as possible. Like, when I first played through, I mean, I know where I'm going now and what enemies are where, especially around the start. But when I first played this game, I was just walking at a steady pace with my shield out in front of me, constantly looking left and right on the camera. And that's kind of the way to approach the rest of this game as well. I'm going to try and knock these guys off before they climb up. Save a bit of hassle. Come on, Sonny Jim. Nope. Oh dear. He was a bit of a fit. There we go. How would you like to get parried? Don't ask me what rubbish is. I don't know. Has no value, apparently. Who in their right mind would bother carrying this around? Perhaps you need help. That's Dark Souls. Likes to troll you. Alright, so this ladder will take us back up to where we came up the big flight of stairs. But also give us an item down the end here. Now, most of the Undead Burg is like this. There's a critical route, but you can also loop around and find extra areas that come back on each other, and it's pretty cool like that. That's why the Undead Burg is a really good area to just run around and grind in for souls. Because it teaches you everything you need to know about the game. It's another soul thing. So for example, there's a door over there with a building, the top floor of the building that I was in just now. And you can't actually jump this gap, but what you'll find out in a bit is that I can get up on the roof here and then jump into it from there. So that's the kind of routes I'm talking about. And oh, there's a dragon! Yeah. You come across him a bit later again. It's not especially fun. Yeah. He's a bit of a nightmare. It's worth noting that while you're in that parry animation, or in a backstab animation for that matter, you are invincible. Because, you see, you're mid-animation, so nothing else can hit you. That becomes a very advanced tactic at later points in the game. I'm going to deal with this guy, because he's annoying me quite a bit. Okay. 3,500 souls. I'll go and light this bonfire. I'm not going to rest here yet because I don't want everything to respawn just yet. But this is the bonfire that you'll be working around at the start of the game for grinding purposes. I will not be grinding a whole lot unless I die over and over again during this video. But it is a thing that is worth considering doing if you're playing for the first time. So there's a wooden shield. In terms of shield selection, because I play quite heavy parry with a thief, I like to keep it small. That's why I like to keep the buckler on. So my shield is less for defense and more for the parrying ability. And this shield happens to be small enough that it's got the largest parrying window in the game. In terms of, you get 220 milliseconds instead of 200 with this shield. And I get to do things like that. Now, another way to deal with these guys is, because they've always got their shields up, you won't actually do a whole lot of damage. I'll block that quickly. So you can actually use your... Oh, come back here. You can use your kick, and that stumbles them, and then you can just run in and... yeah, do some of that. Okay, and he's down. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't immediately obvious while I was up there, but there is, as this message will say, a secret path down to a merchant. Which, as a thief, I definitely want to go and see. There's a guy over here. That's worth remembering. Okay. And then out here, we find
Well now,
the merchant.
you seem to have your wits. Then you are
This is the first merchant in the game. He has some very basic stuff, so you can buy like more fire bombs, sorry, throwing knives, orange guidance soapstones, which are how you would write a message if you wanted to leave a message in the world for other people. He's got a residence key, which will unlock a building in Undead Burg that you would not ordinarily be able to get to. I think the master key works in that door though, so I'm not going to bother buying it myself. Repair box, which allows you to use the bonfires to repair your weapons. I'm not damaged enough to worry about that just yet. Plus it costs 3,000 souls, which is quite expensive. Bottomless box is basically a bank that gives you infinite inventory. That gets access to bonfires. But given that your inventory in the game has no weight limit like you would do in, say, Skyrim, the only things that weigh you down are the things you have equipped, not what's in your inventory. However, if you want to keep your inventory clean, just, you know, keep it to useful things, then the bottomless box is where you would dump everything else. He also sells a lot of weapons here, and shields. That are very useful at this point in the game. Some arrows if you want to buy a bow. Some basic armour. I'm happy with my armour at the moment in terms of how much it weighs. I don't need shields. What I do want is the rapier. The rapier, it doesn't actually say this in the description, I don't think. But the rapier, no it doesn't. But the rapier is actually one of the highest critical damage weapons in the whole game. It's not one of the highest damage weapons in the whole game, but in terms of its percentage for criticals, that it adds, like the critical multiplier for its basic damage, it's extremely high. So at this point in the game, definitely worth buying if you're playing that class. And that's the only thing I'm going to get from here for now. If I was starting for the first time, and were you guys starting for the first time, this would be the time to buy the bottomless box as well. But for now, we will leave this guy alone. What I will now do is change my equipment so I put the rapier on. But I will put the rapier into the second slot there. And now with the second slot I can switch between my dagger and my rapier just by pressing right on the D-pad. Likewise I can turn my shield on and off as well. Interesting thought about parrying, you can actually parry with your fist, which is pretty cool. But obviously you don't have the extra benefit of being able to hold a shield up to block with that, so I tend to keep my buckler on. So now I've got my buckler and my rapier. I'm going to run down here. Should be 4 guys down here. Again, very simple guys. I'm just trying to decide what the best way to go about doing these guys in would be. Probably some really fast stabbing. Get another Estostome. Wow, he was really intent on killing me. Okay, that's them dealt with. And this ladder should take us back up to roughly the area where the bonfire is. Yeah, so we could now jump off of here and the bonfire would be up there. But what I'm going to do instead, first of all collect these throwing knives, is go down into that door in the building I told you about earlier. So you want to line it up, because obviously the game's not going to do that for you. Run and jump. No, I missed it. Damn it. Ah, fudge. Okay, well, now you get to know what happens when you die. So yeah. I'm dead. And apparently that, because I didn't rest at that last bonfire, it didn't checkpoint me. So now, I'm going to have to go the long way back. Hopefully this won't take too long. But my souls will be there waiting for me, so That's something, I guess. You see how that did 248 damage, whereas a normal attack does more like 30? Yeah. Rapier is pretty good if you can get the critical hits. Obviously parrying is the hard way to do it. Backstabbing would be a much easier proposition usually. You just roll around the back of them and, oh look, it's a backstab. Oh, it will be in a second. There we go. Okay. Now this rat shouldn't attack me if I just run straight through here, so... Off we go. As you can see, it's not taking me too long to get back there. Good luck. No. Let's get this guy down. Right, so my souls will be up on that roof right now because they tend to respawn in the position you were at, I think it's 10 seconds before you died. But in order to get back up there, I can't actually see them right now. But yeah, in order to get back up there, I'm going to have to go down to the merchant again, so no Drake to worry about this time. Just got all these guys to worry about. Die, you horrible thing. Okay, get some health in me. If you die again before you retrieve your souls, then they are gone for good. He was trying to use an Estus flask, I'm not happy about that. Right, so. Oh, bonfires also recharge your Estus flasks. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I can't remember. Let's deal with these guys. These guys actually have really slow attacks, so they're pretty easy to parry. This immediate area around the bonfire is the best place to practice parrying and backstabbing if that's the route you want to take. Because all of the enemies have like 1 or 2 attacks each, so they're pretty easy to learn. And for the most part, they're reasonably slow. There we go. I'm being a bit careless at the moment, which I wouldn't advise you do, but yeah, I'm in a bit of a rush to go and fetch my souls. So there they are, my souls. Retrieved. Okay, now I'm going to try and continue on my mission to go through this door. And made it this time. Thank goodness, don't want to fall down there. Now, the reason I came over here was simply because there's an item. A light crossbow with some standard bolts. And what I will now do is... Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. That was the wrong button. Go into my equipment and change out the bandit knife for the light crossbow. Ah. Right, so when I use that, I have to use both hands. I'll quickly explain that. So, with all weapons in the game, virtually, I think it's all weapons in the game, you can press the Y button on the 360 controller, triangle on PS3, and hold with both hands. You'll now do 50% more damage with all of your attacks, but obviously you don't have a shield. It also means that weapons that would normally require a certain amount of strength that you don't necessarily have, you might be able to blag that by using two hands to wield it instead. So in my case, I can't use this crossbow very effectively with one hand, but if I go two-handed, suddenly it becomes viable. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the rapier. So, what to do now? Well, I think the best thing to do now would actually be to go to the bonfire, get my Estus recovery sorted out, and maybe walk you through leveling up, which isn't much of a walkthrough. It's pretty simple and self-explanatory. What I will do is actually... Right, I'm going to reverse the hollowing on me. I like to have this bonfire kindled, so in order to do that you have to be human first. So I have one humanity. I'm now going to use that at the bonfire to make myself human, which should change my face to a nice human colour. There we go. And now I will get out of here, go into my items, find a humanity, just use the one, give me a humanity point. And now I should be able to kindle the bonfire and get 5 Estus up to 10. So now whenever I heal at this bonfire, I will have 10 Estus uses. Which is cool. Alright, I'm now going to level up. Because I know what I'm about to try next. It is not a sensible thing to do. It is not a thing that I would advise any of you to do if you're a new player. But I'm going to do it because I'm a crazy person. I'm going to put points into vitality here. 5 points into vitality, that's pretty good. That'll bump my health up quite a lot. So yeah, I will do that. Exit out of there. Okay, now I really have not a whole lot left to lose. I have 821 souls, which is not a lot. I can summon a dude if I want. I forgot all these guys were about to respawn. I will deal with them now. Oh, another cool thing about the rapier is you can actually hold your, oh dear. You can actually hold your shield up and use the rapier at the same time, while the shield is still held up, which is pretty cool. There's someone either trying to summon me, or themselves trying to be summoned. They seem pretty intent about it. I'm not really in a place where I think it's a good idea to talk about the whole co-op and PvP stuff yet. Alright, there we go. Okay. That's as much of the area clear as I would like. Sorry dude, I'm not going to bring you in. Right, so I'm going to do something now that is really stupid. You should never do this. probably, unless you're feeling really good about your parrying skill. And as I said, this is a good area to practice parrying. I imagine this is going to result in a death. I may have to do some sort of shortcut in the video, but we'll see. So I'm going to dive off of this bridge. And, yep. This is kind of a shortcut around to the back of these guys, which doesn't necessarily help in the long run because you still have to go through and kill them all. But it also takes you down to a guy called the Black Knight. Now, there are Black Knights all over the place in this game. Well, not all over the place, but there are quite a few throughout the game. And the Black Knights are really difficult. They're like one of the more difficult creatures to fight in the whole game. Let's do you guys in, come on. Okay. Get a bit of healing on. Okay, let's try this again. And ordinarily, it would not be a good idea for a new character to take this guy on. But if you know what you're doing with parrying, which needs you to be able to see what you're doing. I got away with that one. There we go. If you can parry and riposte pretty effectively, then this guy is actually not too difficult to beat. Should just be one more. And there he goes. They are really difficult to kill, especially at this point in the game. But if you can pull off the parrying thing, then yeah, it's a bit of a cheat, but it's cool. And you get quite a lot of souls from that. As you can see, I got like about 2,000 souls for it. And a Titanite chunk, which is used for crafting weapons and stuff later. I also got what I came here for, which is the ring that's on this dude. And that should... There we go. When my HP gets to a low amount, I now get a defense buff. That is really useful. Really useful. So as you can see, like, my HP is low, my defense buff is turned on already. And that defense buff is actually pretty significant when it gets used. So now I'm just going to down some health. And yeah, so ordinarily you go across this bridge and take those guys out in that direction. I'm obviously not there, so I'm going to go in the wrong direction. Bloodstains, if you find them around like this, will show you how a dude died. So I'm assuming this guy found the Black Knight and promptly, yeah, took a bit of a whooping. Hey man, I just killed the Black Knight. Do you really want to come after me? I'm just saying, it's not a great idea. Although that was a pretty decent amount of damage. Right. There's me getting cocky. Right, I'm going to heal again. Fighting on stairs is not my forte. Oh, he's about to get me in the back. Okay, now that they're a bit more separated out, I might actually be able to get a bit more of a shot in here. Oh, I was lucky. Oh, I can't believe I actually survived that. That was really careless on my behalf. And that is a thing you'll come to learn about Dark Souls, is that whenever you fail miserably, it is almost always your fault. Like, you'll know what you did wrong. Okay. Some more souls. I'm going to take out this crossbow guy. Okay, this game is all about, you may have noticed there I blocked but then ran out of stamina, so I got quite stumbled. This game's all about endurance management, the green bar. And yes, I can use the master key to get into this house. This is what you would have used the residence key for had you bought that at the shop. But because I have the master key, I get to go in for free. And get some gold pine resin. Which, as I recall, should you decide to use it, will make your weapon have lightning element. Yeah, adds lightning to your right hand weapon, which is really powerful. So you want to save that for like boss fights or whatever. Go and deal with these guys because they're annoying. Grenade chuckers. Ow. Right, that was painful. I'm going to run away and fall down here, apparently. And there will be some guys behind me as well, so... yeah. What's the best thing to do here? Backstab that one. And then while that guy's apparently being oblivious, which is a nice change, I think he's waiting for me to come from the normal direction. But obviously since I went and did the Black Knight, that didn't happen. Oh, you're doing a slow attack, are you? How dare thee. I shall parry you! And then go and steal whatever item that is up there. What does it say? Be wary of jumping! Yeah, no shit. Right, and because that guy's standing right there like a maniac, I'm going to do something else that is a little bit not normal, which is just roll across there, and then line him up, and whoop, there we go. Oh, I didn't kill him. That's interesting. Oh, hello, where did you come from? I think he came from inside the house. And I've got no healing left, so I'm not going to be too risky with the parrying here. I'm just going to run around and backstab that guy. So now what I'm kind of wanting to do is get back over to the bonfire so I can get all my Estus back. I'm just going to run past this dude. And now this will be a good chance to show you how enemies will disappear. And he's gone! Everyone's reset, so you can see the enemies are back outside again now. But I've got all my Estus back. And that, I think, is a good time to leave it for part 1 of the Dark Souls Big Red Barrel. I don't really have a great idea what I'm doing, but hey, I thought I'd make a video for those of you that might be a bit intimidated by the game video. That isn't the full title. I'm probably going to condense it a bit. But yeah, if you've ever been intimidated by Dark Souls, I hope this has made it, well, at least explained what the game is a little bit more. It is hard, but it's fair, and once you learn the systems, it is just some of the most rewarding gameplay you will ever experience. This is part 1. I'll be back with part 2 soon. So, see you later. I'm going to do something fancy, and bye-bye.